This bitch? My ex? Uncle, you can't be serious. Min-jae's words died as Ji-Hoon's fist slammed the mahogany table. Crystal glasses rattled. 20 pairs of eyes turned toward the head of the Kang family dining room, where the most powerful man in Seoul's underworld sat with his arm wrapped possessively around a woman who made Min-jae's blood freeze. Zara. She wasn't broken anymore. Designer silk draped over curves that had once been hidden in cheap Santa velvet. Diamonds glittered at her throat. Her dark skin glowed under chandelier light, and when she met Min-jae's horrified stare, her lips curved into a smile that promised destruction. Finish that sentence, Ji-Hoon said quietly, dangerously, and you'll regret. Min-jae's face went white. His fiancée Ji-Won grabbed his arm, nails digging in, her perfect composure cracking. How? Min-jae started. How did I end up with your uncle? Zara's voice was steady, cold. Let me take you back to 6 months ago, Christmas Eve. Remember that night, Min-jae? The room went silent. It was Christmas Eve. Snow fell over Seoul like confetti. Inside her tiny Itaewon apartment, Zara adjusted a red velvet Santa suit one final time. She was one of the best nurses at Seoul National Hospital, hardworking, excellent at everything she touched. 2 years she'd given Min-jae. 2 years of defending him to friends who warned her, making excuses when he canceled, sending less money home to South Africa so she could afford the dates he chose. Tonight would be different. Tonight she wore lingerie that cost 3 months' salary. Tonight she'd give him her virginity, saved for 27 years for the man she'd marry. Her phone buzzed, her mother calling from Johannesburg. Has he proposed yet, my darling? Guilt twisted through Zara's chest. Soon, mama. 2 years is long enough. Zara hung up, throat tight. She'd told them marriage was coming because she'd believed it. Another text appeared. Unknown number. Whatever you're doing tonight, think carefully. You deserve more than you're settling for. Jade, she deleted it without responding. The taxi ride to Gangnam felt eternal. Min-jae's building rose ahead, glass and steel and understated luxury. Security waved her through with a knowing smile that made her stomach clench. Floor 15. His door stood open. Strange. He was usually paranoid about security. Music drifted out, soft and romantic. Rose petals lined the floor. Candles flickered everywhere. Her heart soared. He'd planned something special. She followed the petals, gifts trembling in her hands, expensive watch, homemade cookies, champagne with a note about forever. The living room came into view. Min-jae sat on their cream leather couch with a woman straddling him, his face buried in her chest, hands gripping her waist. The gifts slipped from Zara's fingers. The woman looked up first, took in the Santa costume, the tears forming. Then she smiled. Min-jae, she said, melodic and cold. There's a Santa Claus in your apartment. Min-jae turned, not guilty, annoyed. What are you doing here? It's Christmas Eve. Our anniversary. Anniversary? The woman stood, smoothing her designer dress. What is this woman talking about? Listen, he said, cold and condescending. I don't know why you're here, but you need to leave. Min-jae, we've been together for 2 years. We hung out sometimes, that's it. My family thinks we're getting married. Married? The woman pressed her hand to her mouth, eyes dancing with malicious delight. Oh my God, she thought you were serious? You kept a side piece who didn't even know she was a side piece? You were convenient, Min-jae said. A distraction. This was never serious. I loved you. That's your problem, not mine. He turned to the woman, Ji-Won, dismissing Zara entirely. I'm sorry about this. She's nobody, just some foreign nurse. Get out, he said. Leave whatever key you have. This is pathetic. Zara ran. The hallway blurred. The elevator took forever. In the lobby, cheerful Christmas decorations mocked her. She burst through the doors into snow falling hard and fast, immediately soaking through the cheap velvet. She stumbled forward, blind with tears, and slammed into something solid. Strong hands caught her arms. Careful. The voice was deep, commanding. Zara looked up. He was tall, much taller than Min-jae, broader. He wore a black coat that screamed wealth, snowflakes catching in dark hair. Sharp jawline, eyes so dark they looked black under the streetlights. Tattoos coiled up his neck, disappearing under his collar. Dragons, beautiful and deadly. Behind him, a convoy of black Range Rovers idled. Armed men in dark suits stood at attention. Let me go, she managed. His grip didn't budge. Not painful, just immovable. He studied her with intensity that made her feel naked despite the costume. You're upset, he said. Not a question. I'm fine. You're crying in a Santa costume in Gangnam on Christmas Eve. You're not fine. His eyes narrowed. You just came from this building. Let me go. You're Zara. He said her name with certainty. Nurse at Seoul National Hospital, from South Africa, works ICU double shifts. His thumb brushed across her wrist, and something in the touch felt like a brand. You treated me 3 months ago. Room 804. Gunshot wound. Recognition slammed into her. Mr. Kang? Ji-Hoon. His lips curved, not quite a smile, something more sinister. Can you talk to me, please? You don't know a thing about me. Zara's voice cracked. He shrugged off his coat, draped it around her shoulders. It swallowed her, warm and smelling like cedar and gunpowder. You're freezing. My car, now. I'm not going anywhere. You have no phone, no keys, no money. His hand settled on her back, guiding her toward the lead Range Rover. Not asking, commanding. You can hate the world tomorrow. Tonight, you don't freeze to death in a parking lot. She was too tired, too broken to fight. The interior was warm, leather soft. He slid in beside her and the space felt smaller, intimate. Tell me what happened. Why do you care? Because you treated me with kindness when you didn't have to. You were professional, gentle, respectful. His eyes held hers. And I asked you to dinner. You said no, said you were loyal to someone. I respected that. His voice dropped. But whoever he was, he didn't deserve your loyalty. The memory surfaced, the VIP patient who'd looked at her like she mattered. He called me convenient, she whispered. Nothing. Just some foreign nurse. His hand cupped her face, thumb brushing away tears. What he did, that's on him. Not you. You're loyal, hardworking, beautiful. Each word was firm. Any man who can't see that is a fool. And you think you're different? I know I am. He leaned closer. Because I don't do casual. I don't share. If I decide someone matters to me, I don't ask permission. His thumb traced her jaw. And you matter. This is insane. Is it? Or is it the first sane thing that's happened to you tonight? The car stopped at her building. My keys are in his apartment. He made a call in rapid Korean. Locksmith will be here in 10 minutes. At her door, he pressed something into her hand, a business card with just a phone number. When you're ready, he said, call me. Then he was gone. Inside her apartment, her phone showed messages from Min-jae. Stop being dramatic. You're nothing. Remember that. Nothing. But Ji-Hoon Kang had looked at her like she was everything. That helped. 3 days later, Seoul National Hospital buzzed with its usual chaos. Zara moved through her shift on autopilot. Room 804, Dr. Park said. VIP requesting you specifically. Her heart stuttered. Ji-Hoon sat on the hospital bed, perfectly healthy, wearing an expensive suit. You're not hurt? No. Then why? To see you. He stood, moved toward her. You weren't answering my calls. I didn't call you at all. Exactly. He stopped close. 3 days, Zara. I gave you 3 days to process, to grieve, to decide. You can't just fake injuries. I donated a new MRI machine this morning. They'll forgive me. His hand came up to her face. Have you thought about what I said? That you want me? Life doesn't work that way. Why not? Tell me you haven't thought about me. Tell me you haven't wondered what it would feel like to be with someone who actually sees you. She should say no. 1 date, she whispered. His eyes darkened with satisfaction. He took her hand, pressed his lips to her knuckles, slow, deliberate, his gaze never leaving hers. Friday, 7 p.m. I'll pick you up. Wear something that makes you feel powerful. The date was unlike anything she'd experienced. Rooftop restaurant overlooking Seoul. Conversation that lasted until dawn. He asked about her family, her dreams, her fears. On the 3rd date, as they walked through Namsan Tower, she finally asked, why me? You could have anyone. Because you're real. You work double shifts, yet still very humble and respectful. I can't take my mind off. You saved yourself for someone you thought worthy. He stopped, turned her to face him. And because when I ask you something, I want to know the truth. So tell me, what happened to you that night? She hesitated. Then, Min-jae. He went completely still. Min-jae who? He isn't necessary anymore, though. He never. She stopped. He never introduced me to his family. Describe him. She did, and watched Ji-Hoon's expression turn to stone. That's my nephew, he said quietly. Dangerously. Min-jae Kang, her stomach dropped. Your nephew? The same nephew who's been bleeding my family business dry, who's been engaged to a chaebol daughter for 3 years while he, Ji-Hoon's jaw clenched, while he kept you as a secret. I didn't know. Of course you didn't. He cupped her face. He made sure of that, just like he made sure you'd never be good enough to meet his family. His thumb traced her cheek. But you want to know something, Zara? You're too good for him. Too good for any of them. This is too complicated. No, his voice was firm. This is perfect, because now when I make you mine, and I will make you mine, he'll understand exactly what he lost. One date became two. Two became every night. Ji-Hoon didn't just court her, he consumed her world. Flowers appeared at the hospital with notes in his handwriting. He learned her schedule, showed up at shift changes with coffee exactly how she liked it. He asked about her mother in Johannesburg, remembered her brother's name, wanted to know why she'd chosen nursing. Nurses are saviors. You're too much, she said one night, overwhelmed by another extravagant gesture. No. He pulled her close. I'm exactly enough for you. You've just never had anyone show you what you're worth. On their sixth date, at his penthouse overlooking the Han River, he poured her wine and asked the question he'd been circling. Are you still saving yourself? She froze. How did you? That night, you said you were going to give him everything. His eyes held hers. Did you? No, after what he did. She shook her head. I couldn't. Good. He set down his glass, moved toward her with that predatory grace. Because I'm going to make you a promise right now, Zara. When you give yourself to someone, it's going to be to a man who deserves it. A man who'll treasure it. A man who'll spend the rest of his life making sure you never regret it. Her breath caught. And you think you're that man? I know I am. He cupped her face. I'm keeping you. Not as a girlfriend. Not as something temporary. As mine. Permanently. Do you understand what I'm saying? Ji-Hoon, say yes. She should be scared. Should run. Should protect her heart. But when she looked in his eyes, she saw the future Min-jae had promised but never delivered. Yes. The word had barely left her lips when he kissed her, deep, claiming a promise of what was coming. He lifted her, carried her to his bedroom, laid her down like she was something precious. Are you sure? He asked, even as his hands trembled with restraint. I'm sure. What happened next wasn't just physical, it was a claiming. He was careful when he needed to be, patient when she tensed, possessive when she arched into him. He whispered in Korean, words she didn't understand but felt in her bones. Promises. Vows. Forever. When pain gave way to pleasure, when she finally understood what it meant to be treasured by a man who saw her worth, she knew there was no going back. She was his. And he'd been planning this moment, planning everything. From the very beginning. 3 months later, when she discovered she was pregnant, Ji-Hoon didn't flinch. Perfect timing, he said, hands settling over her still flat stomach. Now we can introduce you to the family properly. Your family doesn't even know about me. Oh, they will. His smile was dark, satisfied. Trust me, they'll never forget. 6 months later, Zara stood beside Ji-Hoon in the Kang family mansion, transformed. Designer silk instead of hospital scrubs, diamonds instead of cheap jewelry, confidence instead of heartbreak. The dining room stretched before them, mahogany table, crystal chandeliers, artwork worth millions. 20 family members gathered, all Kang dynasty. Family, Ji-Hoon said, voice carrying authority. I've gathered you here to introduce someone important. The woman I'm going to marry. Murmurs rippled through the room. Ji-Hoon never brought women to family events. The door opened. Zara stepped in beside him, and the murmurs stopped. Min-jae sat halfway down the table, Ji-Won beside him. His wine glass froze halfway to his lips. His eyes went wide with recognition, then horror. This, he started. This bitch my ex? Uncle, you can't be serious. Ji-Hoon's fist slammed the table. Crystal glasses rattled. Finish that sentence, Ji-Hoon said quietly. Yes, I am. Min-jae's face went white. Zara smiled, cold and beautiful. Hello, Min-jae. It's been 6 months. You remember me, don't you? Or should I reintroduce myself? She tilted her head. Actually, I don't think we were ever properly introduced. You made sure of that. The room erupted. Mrs. Kang, Min-jae's mother, stood up. What an amazing moment that you are taking half of the family's wealth. $350 million slipped off your hands just because you could not be sincere and could not settle with one loyal woman? The silence was deafening. 2 years? Mrs. Kang's voice cracked. You wasted 2 years with the best nurse in Seoul and took her for a piece of shit? Mama? He kept her hidden for 2 years, Ji-Hoon said, voice like ice. 2 years of lying, 2 years of using her, and when she finally discovered the truth, he called her nothing. His arm tightened around Zara's waist. That was his biggest mistake. Because the woman he discarded is now mine, and I protect what's mine. Uncle. Min-jae found his voice, desperate now. You can't, she's just trying to cause problems. She's angry I broke up with her. You didn't break up with her. That is not the point. The point is, you missed grandfather's check, one that could have saved your entire life. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. You meant every word. Ji-Hoon looked at his sister. Your son is a coward who destroys good women because he's too insecure to value them. And now he's going to learn what happens when you throw away something precious. What are you gonna do? Min-jae's voice cracked. Nothing. Ji-Hoon smiled, and it was terrifying. You've already done it to yourself. Because starting today, Zara is family. My family, which means she has access to everything I have, my resources, my protection, my name. And you. He leaned forward. You have nothing. I'm claiming back the millions grandfather had promised your family. You're cut off from the family trust. And if you ever speak to her again, if you ever look at her again, I will make you regret. You can't do that. I can. I will. It's already done. Ji-Hoon straightened. Does anyone else have objections to my choice of bride? Silence. They all knew who Zara truly was. She was not just a pretty woman. She was the healing hands of Seoul National Hospital, the best of every nurse they ever had. Good. He looked down at Zara, and his expression softened. Because she's carrying my child, your future heir. And if anyone in this family disrespects her or our baby, they'll answer to me. Zara's hand went to her stomach, barely showing, just 3 months along. They discovered it last week. Min-jae looked like he might be sick. Ji-Won had gone pale. Mrs. Kang sank back into her chair, defeated. Welcome to the family, Ji-Hoon said to the room. Then he turned to Zara, cupped her face and kissed her in front of everyone. Possessive. Claiming. Final. When they broke apart, he whispered against her lips, Still think revenge isn't sweet? She smiled, looking over his shoulder at Min-jae's devastated expression. I think it's delicious. Later that night, in Ji-Hoon's penthouse overlooking Seoul, he pulled her close. Do you regret it? He asked. Choosing this life? Choosing me? No. She turned in his arms, placed his hand on her small bump. I regret wasting 2 years on a man who couldn't see my worth. But you showed me what I deserved. I love you, he said roughly. From that first moment in the hospital I knew. I just had to wait for you to know it too. I love you too. She kissed him, soft and sweet. My dangerous, possessive, perfect Mafia king. He laughed against her mouth. And you're my queen, mine to protect, mine to treasure, mine forever. Forever, she agreed. 6 months ago, she'd been nothing. Discarded. Broken. Now she was everything. Claimed, protected, carrying the air of the most powerful man in Seoul. And Min-jae? Min-jae had lost everything. But karma wasn't done with him yet. The collapse came without warning. Fever, darkness, sirens. When Min-jae finally struggled back to consciousness, the world smelled like antiseptic and regret. Machines beeped. Lights burned. His body felt like it had betrayed him. He tried to move, couldn't. Tried to speak, failed. Then he saw her, standing at the foot of his hospital bed. Calm, composed, beautiful. Zara, the woman he'd humiliated, the woman he'd called nothing. Now, dressed in crisp white, her name glowing on the chart clipped to his bed. Primary nurse. Zara. Panic clawed up his throat. She stepped closer, eyes unreadable, a syringe gleaming between her fingers. Recognition hit him harder than the illness ever could. She looked down at him and smiled. Not cruel. Not kind. Final. What happens, her voice murmured softly, when the woman you broke is the one holding your life in her hands? Subscribe for the next chapter. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next.